Good morning. Welcome to episode 4 of Holy Tea Time. I'm Gabrielle Fox, and today I'm not in my jammies. I actually have a meeting right after this, so if some of you are on your way to work or getting ready for work, today I feel you. I'm on the same page. Grab your tea and grab your devotional if you have the book that we are going through. It is Streams in the Desert. If this is your first time joining this morning show with me, do yourself a favor, actually, and go back and watch the intro video of this series so that you kind of know what this is about. Basically, we do 10 minutes of devotional and scripture discussion, and then we do 10 minutes of Bible history, which is really cool. And then we do about 10 minutes of Christian news, but we are going to do a little something different today. The last 10 minutes is going to be maybe 5 minutes of Christian news, and then I want to start doing 5 minutes of kind of like a Q&A. People can ask questions, and we can have a little bit of discussion at the end. So let's get into it. Streams in the Desert. Today is October 23rd. Not one word has failed of all the good promises he gave. 1 Kings 8:56. Someday we will understand that God has a reason behind every no he gives us through the course of our lives. Yet even in this life, he always makes it up to us. When God's people are worried and concerned that their prayers are not being answered, how often we have seen him working to answer them in a far greater way. Occasionally we catch a glimpse of this, but the complete revelation of it will not be seen until later. If God says yes to our prayer, dear heart, and the sunlight is golden, the sky is blue, while the smooth road beckons to me and you, and songbirds are singing and on we go, pausing to pick up the flowers at our feet, stopping to drink of the streams that we meet, happy, more happy, our journey will grow. If God says yes to our prayer, dear heart. If God says no to our prayer, dear heart, and the clouds hang heavy and dull and gray, if the rough rocks hinder and block the way, while the sharp winds pierce us and sting with cold, yet, dear, there is home at the journey's end. And these are the trials the Father does send to draw us as sheep to his heavenly fold. If God says no to our prayer, dear heart. If only we had the faith not to rush into things, but to be still before the Lord and wait patiently for him. Psalm 37:7. Waiting for his full explanation that will not be revealed until Jesus Christ comes again. When has God ever taken anything from a person without restoring it many times over? Yet what are we to think if he does not immediately restore what has been taken? Is today his only day to work? Does he have any concerns beyond this little world of ours? Can he still work beyond our death, or does the door of the grave open on nothing but infinite darkness and eternal silence? Even as we confine our thinking to this life, it is true that God never touches the heart with a trial without intending to bestow a greater gift or compassionate blessing. The person who knows how to wait has grown to an exceptional degree in God's grace. When the frosts are in the valley and the mountaintops are gray, and the choicest blooms are blighted and the blossoms die away, a loving Father whispers, "This all comes from my hand." Blessed are you if you trust when you cannot understand. If after years of toiling your wealth should fly away, and leave your hands all empty and your hair is turning gray, remember when your Father owns all the sea and land. Blessed are you if you trust when you cannot understand. Wow. That's powerful. I'm actually in kind of a trial right now where I was just talking to my husband last night about this very thing. that, we thought we were going in one direction, and now that the time has come to kind of solidify it and commit to it, God is really steering me in another direction, and I've been praying on it and praying on it and praying on it. And I told my husband, I think God has something bigger and more aligned with us. And that means we have to sacrifice something right now. That means we have to sacrifice what we thought was going to happen right now and our plan right now, and some things that we invested a little bit into right now. We have to give those things up. And it's not going to be easy. It's kind of going to suck, to be honest. So I really love that devotional today. I'm going to have to read it like separately to my husband today, because we were just talking about that. I'm not sure, let's see how much time. Okay. Rowe's Handbook of Bible Charts, Maps, and Timelines. This is our history of the Bible book that I randomly found, and you will hear about this if you watch the intro episode of this show. And it is the coolest. It is very thick. It is fully illustrated. And it's something that I wish more pastors would get into, which is biblical history. It's kind of crazy to tell people like, hey, here's this book. It's a bunch of stories. It's written by 40 different people, all compiled together. And you have to believe every word it says and follow it. That's kind of crazy, right? But if you kind of get into explaining where the Bible came from and the history of it, it really solidifies why it's so important. And it's really cool. Honestly, it is. I'm a history nerd, so maybe I think it's cooler than most people. But okay, we're gonna continue where we left off yesterday. I showed the screenshots in yesterday's episode of these pages that we're doing. I kind of held it up so you guys can take a screen grab if you want. So we're gonna start AD 1900. Modern translations, 1885, the English Revised Version, 1901, American Standard Version, which is basically the King James Version in American English, 1926, the Moffat Bible, 1931, Smith Goodspeed, I had never even heard of that one, Modern American English, 1952, the Revised Standard Version, 1958 is J.B. Phillips' New Testament of Modern English. Again, one I've never heard of. The Amplified Bible was 1965. 1966 was the Jerusalem Bible, which is a translation by Catholic scholars in Jerusalem. 1970, New English Bible. 1970 is also the New American Bible. 1971, New American Standard Bible, a literal word-for-word translation, updated in 1995. The Living Bible was 1971. It's a popular one. 1976, the Good News Bible. 1978, New International Version. That's the version that I have in my Bible that my husband got me. It's the first ever Bible that somebody gave me, bought me and gave me and personalized it. And it's really special. I actually don't take it out of the house. It's my home Bible. 1982, New King James Version. 1987, New Century Version, puts biblical concepts into natural terms. Okay. 1989, Jewish New Testament. English translation using traditional Jewish expressions. That is interesting. I did not know that existed, but I'm kind of curious how it reads. 1989, New Revised Standard Version. Gender neutral revision of the RSV. Oh, good Lord. 1991, Contemporary English Version. 1995, God's Word, Contemporary English. 1996, New Living Translation. That is one that a lot of churches use today, and I don't like it. Yeah, I think it's too modern, and it really kind of waters down the meaning of a lot of the words in the King James. 1996 New International Reader's Version. It's a simplified version of NIV with a 3rd or 4th grade reading level. That's kind of great for kids. 2001 English Standard Version. 2002 The Message. Now we're into 82,000, so the 2000s. 2004 Holman Christian Standard Bible. Balance between word for word and thought for thought. Today's New International Version is 2005. That's even more modernized than the NIV. And then 2005 New English Translation. Available only on the internet. Oh, cool. Okay, I am so excited. Okay, I'm going to let you guys do a screen grab because we're going to get into the Dead Sea Scrolls. You should grab this book if you can, if you're a book nerd like me and you like to collect books. As you can see behind me, I have all different genres going on back here. Some biblical books, some history books, some political books, all kinds of books. Dead Sea Scrolls. Okay, let's do. See if I can get the whole page in there. Okay, the Dead Sea Scrolls. The Dead Sea Scrolls were just discovered in 1947. That's really recently. The cool thing about them that I talked about yesterday is that it's certain books of the Bible, and one of the books of the Bible, one of the most well-known and I think impactful books of the Bible, which is Isaiah, is word for word identical to the Dead Sea Scrolls. Very cool. Okay, what are the Dead Sea Scrolls? Okay, here we go. The Dead Sea Scrolls are a collection of 931 documents discovered over half a century ago in a region of the Judean desert in what today is called the West Bank. The scrolls date from different periods as early as 300 BC to AD 40 and were hidden in caves along the edge of the Dead Sea. The discovery of the Dead Sea Scrolls is the greatest literary and archaeological discovery of our time. The scrolls are not the original documents that make up the Hebrew Bible, the Old Testament, but they are the oldest copies of those documents that we have today. The Dead Sea Scrolls have shed new light on the practice of the Jewish religion during the periods when the books of the Bible were composed. They have given us a snapshot of the world Jesus ministered in with his 12 disciples. And they have helped us better understand the society in which the early church first started. The scrolls are believed to be from the library of a group of first century Jews who separated themselves from the rest of society by living out in the desert at a site known as the Qumran. The scrolls contain a variety of writings, portions of every book of the Old Testament, except the book of Esther, commentaries on the books of the Bible, rules for religious rituals and community life, texts designed to prepare the Qumran sect for a war at the end of time, marriage contracts, deeds of sale, calendars, horoscopes, and writings that claim to foretell the future. So, for those that don't know, when there was a point in history when, the Babylonians enslaved or took over the lands where the Israelites were there, and some of the Israelites ended up adopting a mystic version of Judaism called Kabbalah, and it still actually exists today. And so there is such a thing as Jewish mysticism, and it still exists today. And so that's what I would guess why it says that they found, horoscopes and writings that claim to foretell the future. Okay, let's move on. The texts are composed in 3 languages: Hebrew, Aramaic, which is the language that Jesus used, and Greek. They are written on leather parchment made from goat or sheep skins, and papyrus, a form of early paper. One scroll is inscribed on pure copper and is known as the Copper Scroll. So cool. It appears to be a treasure map detailing directions to 66 places throughout the Judean desert where immense amounts of gold, silver, and other precious items were hidden. Due to the secretive and mysterious way the texts were written and the loss of identifying physical features in the region today, all attempts to locate the treasure have thus far proven unsuccessful. Interesting. We're going to pause there. There is a whole nother page we'll get into tomorrow, how were the scrolls discovered. But it gives, in the screenshot that I held up, it gives the canonical division, according to the Hebrew Bible, of what was discovered. The Old Testament book that was discovered within that canonical division, and then the number of Qumran and other manuscripts that were found. So there's like a little chart there, and it shows also on that screenshot the map of where this region was and where these were found. So cool. I'm a history nerd. I know. I'm not sorry. Okay, let's get into quick Christian news, and then what I'm gonna do is on my story today, and I've been having trouble with Instagram Live. That's why I've been a few minutes late in the morning. I'm having trouble with Instagram Live and like connection. And for some reason, even though I am over the threshold on YouTube for the subscriber count that I need to go live on YouTube, which would make things so much easier, and more people could log on, because I know there's a lot of people that have messaged me and said, I don't have Instagram. So I'm working on it. I have submitted a ticket to YouTube to try to get live. Hopefully they help me out today, and tomorrow morning we can go live on YouTube. Let's get into Christian news. On my story today, I'm going to post a little like question box so that if you have questions from today's episode or from any episode in the past, or just, want to see something or want to hear about something or have a question about something biblical, ask away and I will answer them tomorrow's show in the morning. All right, let's see. The news for today, I specifically wanted to look for things that were happening here in America, and I found some good news. So I want to share good news today, because the last couple days I've been talking about persecution and things like that. So I want to share some good news today. A survey of the United States reveals the decline in transgender identification among U.S. college students is a major decline. So college students that are going, they're enrolling in college and they're getting like their IDs for college, the drop from, it was 5.3 in 2023, 5.3% of college kids were enrolling as transgender. And today it is under 2% this year. But it does say, this is interesting. Hold on, we have a quick question. What is the name of the book you're reading from first thing in the morning? Oh, Streams in the Desert. I have a really nice leather-bound copy that my friend Kathy gave me, but I know you can grab this on Instagram, on Amazon. Paperback. There's definitely, oh, and there's different versions. This one, it says it's updated by Jim Ryman. So it was written in 1925, and it has been revised to just update the language a little bit since then, but it's a great devotional. 365 days. Okay, back to the news. However, it says a parallel Barna study. So this study was done by Gallup. It was a Gallup report, so this is pretty valid. And they attributed the drop partly to renewed religious influence on campuses. So we've been seeing those stories. I think you guys have been seeing them. I've been seeing them, where they're having like revivals and they're doing baptisms on college campuses, and it's amazing. So it says, however, a parallel Barna study finds that most U.S. churchgoers believe the Bible is unclear on homosexuality, leading to rare sermons on the topic and leaving youth feeling unsupported. Evangelical leaders are calling for better equipping to address these cultural shifts without alienating families. So that's interesting. And I will say that the Bible is kind of clear on homosexuality, but it's kind of harsh. And so people tend to, like, you know, if they do have a child, let's say, that's feeling like they're part of the LGBTQ community, or they are a little bit confused on things, they don't want to alienate them. They don't want to hurt their feelings. They don't want to, like, be harsh with them. But, you know, sometimes that can stoke more confusion. And this is how I've handled it, like, in my own life. When I was young, I had some confusion. I did. When I was very, very young, I was like in my, my late teens, early 20s, I had some confusion going on. I got over that actually before I became a Christian, and many years before I became a Christian. And how I've dealt with it in my own life is, like, I have a couple friends that they do believe in Jesus. They are Christian, but they are living in that life, that lifestyle. And what I've said to them is, look, you know, if you follow Christianity, what it is. So your choice is between you and God. And at some point, you have to atone for that with God. That's between you and God. It is not my job to harp on you every day or preach to you or, you know, remind you of the things, right? You know, we've had the talk one time and that's it. You know, like, they know how I feel, and they know that, you know, we're called to be fruitful and multiply. We're called to, it's become one flesh, one man, one woman, you know, make babies, do all that. And so that's how I've dealt with it in my own life when I've had somebody that was gay in my life. And I think that we all have our sin. We all have our thing that we have to work on. We have to ask God for wisdom for. We have to atone for. And it's not our job to be harsh or to alienate people, but it is our job to be truthful. So yeah, that's the news for today. We're going to wrap up as we start a little bit late, and I will see you guys tomorrow morning for tomorrow's episode. Don't forget, on my story today, I'm going to put a question box. Any questions regarding the show, any biblical questions, any history questions, you know, I love those. And I will see you tomorrow morning for the next episode of the Holy Tea Time.